There is a lot of mediocre advice nowadays, and it is imperative for your success that you're able to identify them. Joseph F. Kennedy, who was the father of John F. Kennedy, the president, he made his fortune during the Great Depression after the stock market crashed, a time when most people were losing their fortunes. And he said he knew to get out of the stock market and take his money when he could. He knew when now was time was when the shoe shiners on the street, the shoe shiner boys, were giving him stock tips. At that point, he realized that if these low-class people were trying to give him advice on how to make money, the stock market grew too big. It was too big and was getting ready to pop, and he knew that's when he should get out. And it served him right because he made a fortune off of it, while so many people, they lost everything. And that is so true. You take that metaphor, that is so true with a lot of other parts of your life and a lot of other pieces of advice. There's so many people who haven't done anything, they don't know anything, and they're trying to give people advice of what to do or how to live their life or how to get what they want when they can't even get what they want. I used to work with a guy. He was a short little Italian. He was my supervisor when I worked at a movie theater, and he was a nice guy, but he could get a little annoying where he would just always give this unsolicited advice about how to make a lot of money in the stock market or make money off crypto. And he would talk about these options and these cryptocurrencies that's going to blow up, and he would be so sure about it and just say like, oh, this is definite, you got to do this. The funny thing is that he didn't have any stocks or cryptocurrency himself. He admitted it that he wasn't in the market, yet he was trying to give all this advice to just people for no reason. And I always wondered why, and wasn't until later kind of recognized that he was interested in it, but he didn't have the gumption to do it himself, or didn't have the resources, and he just wanted to feel smart. He just wanted to just give that information to other people, think other people think he's successful. And I think too, he also wanted to help, but he couldn't help himself. And there's so many people online, and even in your own life, that'll try to give you information about things they don't know. For example, crypto. I will never give you guys advice for crypto until maybe years, if I ever do get into crypto. If I become a crypto expert all of a sudden. Because I know nothing about it. I only know surface level. So who am I to give advice about what you should spend your money on? Like, invest like your savings into. And there's so many of these grifters online that act like they know what they're talking about, but they don't. And that's so true with the crypto thing going on right now, where we just had a bull run in 2022, and now it's becoming a bear market. Yet there's so many people who just kept pounding like, oh, it's a bull market, it's not going to crash, just keep investing. And even they got screwed because they don't even understand the market themselves. They're just trying to still get you more clicks on their YouTube videos. They're trying to get you more clicks on their blogs, buy more courses off of them, buy into their scam coins so they can get out. That's a lot of it that, they can't make money unless they bring more people into it, a pyramid scheme. But there's just a lot of this mediocre advice going around. And it's not just people, like I just mentioned, that are trying to scam you. It's also, people who just have different priorities and goals from you. Because most people are average, because that's what average means. And average is just the normal person. And the normal person is not that high achieving. They just get by and just live to their means. And, they just do some things they want, but not everything. And if you're trying to be truly great, and to be great, you need to have adversity and do the things that other people won't, so you can do what they can. That advice they're giving you, or a lot of advice you'll hear, is not going to help you. And I'm going to give you a few examples. Hey, pal, stop working so hard. You got to take it easy. Come on, you got to be happy with what you have. Why can't you just be normal like everyone else? Just fit in. Just listen to the experts. They know what you're doing. They know more than you. You should really start investing into a work-life balance, right? Just start enjoying life, right? Why are you doing all this work? And those are some examples of mediocre advice that you hear a lot. And you probably could think back people telling you this, and you might think it's good advice before I mentioned it. But these pieces of advice are just recipes to becoming mediocre, to be how they are. Because they're invested in the work-life balance. They're invested in, just being content and satisfied with what they have. They're just content with listening to people blindly without doing their own research. That's the average way to go. And if you're fine with being average, go for it. That is good advice. But if you truly want to be great and you truly want to be different than others and get what you want, and more importantly, be out for your own self-interest, which most people aren't, having total mental point of origin, self-interest, that is terrible advice. Some people are born to move the world to live their fantasies, but most of us just dream about the things we like to be. I knew when I was younger that I was not normal. in a good way. I knew I just wasn't like other people. I was different. I was obsessed about things. I just had different priorities, and I embraced that. Now, I'm going to be someone who's truly great, and I'm going to do what other people won't so I can do what other people can't. I embraced that from a young age. And I fell into a lot of mediocre advice about not wanting more than I should want, right? It's like, oh, why don't you just be fine with what you have, just live a satisfied, content life. And it wasn't until I got older where I realized, I'm not going to live that life. For me, would be selfish for me not to do that, right? It would be selfish for me not to go after my dreams. It would be selfish for me not to get the resources I want. That to me, that is unselfish. Well, other people will say it isn't. That it is selfish. All the great people, who made history, they were different. They were different. It's very rare, the few that really were just very normal, but just being very good at something, like, I don't know, the Tim Cooks or anyone that built their success through a hierarchy, a pre-established hierarchy, and didn't do anything new. They're the exceptions, but most of them, they innovated. They were different. They were outcasted. They were ostracized. They were isolated. They did not live a normal life. A lot of them, there's a reason why a lot of successful people had a lot of chaotic childhoods. That they just had circumstances where they couldn't be normal. They weren't normal themselves. There's a disproportionate amount of, mental disorders or developmental disorders on the top. And that's because these people that they were different themselves, and they just took that and manifested it to get what they want. And they ignored that. And these mediocre advice, they do have some merits about, like, the work-life balance, but usually when people say it, it's really more to get them to quit, right? Because I know, for example, myself, I know how to have a work-life balance. Compared to other people, I feel like their balance is all life, just limit work. For me, I'm more heavily favor work than life. That's why for years, I used to get pissed off anytime someone used to say, stop working so hard. I was working on a project, and, I'd tell someone, and in good faith, they would say, oh, dude, you gotta take a break, oh, don't work so hard, you're gonna burn out. And I knew it was coming from good faith, that they didn't want me to get hurt or anything, or see me go through struggle. But I got pissed off, and I don't know why. It was like, I knew I could take a break, and if I wanted a break, I would take it, but that's just demotivating. To get true greatness, you have to go through adversity, through struggle. You can't just be comfortable and safe to get greatness. That's why, all the athletes you see on TV, they're there and not on the couch watching athletes, because they went through adversity. That's how they got so great. And it wasn't until, actually recently I realized why it was, is that, I'm obsessed about my goals. And those people, it's for good reasons, and for good interest out of you. They want you just to be comfortable, and they're trying to just give you advice that they would follow. It's like, stop working so hard, because their priority is just being comfortable and living a safe life, a life that's unambitious. And in my mind, it's like, no, that advice they're giving is literally detrimental to my goals. I can't stop now. I can't take my foot off the pedal, because then I'm not going to achieve what I want. I would not have this YouTube channel. I would not have built up all this content if I took my foot off the pedal and I listened to other people. I think it was risky. It was just not worth the time. Instead, I listened to the people who got what I wanted, that I'm looking for, who were successful, and I take their advice. I'm only going to take advice from someone that I would switch shoes from. So if you're able to identify that mediocre advice that is not come from mediocre people to get mediocre results, it will help you tremendously. And it will just limit down the advice and the motivations and the tips and tools that will actually get what you want. Thanks for watching.